Hello. Today I'd like to touch upon the subject of child marriage. Seems a little controversial and out of the blue, right? It is a very surprising and unconversed topic to many people, but that doesn't mean it isn't just as important as many other popular topics. Child marriage has always been a problem, whether it be in America or not. It may not seem like a big deal if you just take a quick glance, but it's always important to take a double take when things seem a little off. This is very much so the case with child marriage, unfortunately. This isn't just kids marrying kids, not that that would make the situation any better, but instead full-grown adults marrying children. Whether this be for money and agreement or even personal pleasure, it needs to be stopped. Many children are able to make a choice to go through with it or not, but not every child does. Most children, in fact, don't have the luxury to make that choice. For example, a child consents to an agreement. The kid seems happy, the adult seems content with their decision, and all seems well at the time. Say the couple lives happily for a while without many complications. Now think about the future. What happens when the child starts to regret their decision? Maybe they now feel uncomfortable with the adult around. They start to grow distant towards the older. Say the adult notices and becomes angry. What happens to the child then? Stuck in a marriage that they now see was the wrong choice that they couldn't see before their mental immaturity. There are many other outcomes, and being completely honest, the majority of them are negative. Children that are being put into child marriages don't have the mental maturity to be able to actually agree to such things like that. That's why there are laws that keep children from making stupid decisions that they don't know if is the right decision because their views of right and wrong are completely skewed due to how they grew up. They aren't so sure on what they should do or what they can do. So when giving a child a very, very important and adult decision, it puts the child at risk of their future. A child can grow up and make every dumb decision, but later be able to fix things. Them being a normal child, that is. But if a child's put into a marriage with an adult, a full consenting, mentally mature adult, it's really concerning. The child's is gonna end up regretting every one of their decisions and is going to be stuck in an unhappy marriage that can and most likely will turn out to be abusive. Families sell off their children just for an agreement or money, as mentioned earlier. But why? That's why subjects like these need to be more talked about. Of course, global warming and saving turtles is important, but we should really start considering the topics of not only child abuse. This is child abuse, and I think it needs to be it needs to be talked about a lot more than it is. Child marriage is a controversial topic, but also an unconversed topic, like said earlier. It's not a very popular subject for many reasons. It makes many people uncomfortable when even bringing up the thought of it, for good reason. But just because it makes people uncomfortable doesn't mean that we should just ignore the problem completely. Once you ignore a problem, a solution never happens, and children suffer for years upon years being stuck in a marriage that they could never get out of unless they fight. and fighting makes everything worse. You can't be a child and be forced into this situation, and when trying to fight for your basic human right of consent, get pushed down so easily because you don't have any power at all because of your age. But this subject needs to be a lot more talked about, because without the more awareness, and the more people don't know about this subject, the longer it's going to go on untalked about and unsolved. So many girls are suffering because it's an unconversed topic. But that's why I've chosen to do this project on this subject. Of course, there's more popular subjects like, I don't know, global warming. But there are much more popular subjects, but child marriage isn't talked about a lot at all. And that's a huge problem. But that's the reason that I chose to do my project on this subject, and because I feel very strongly about this subject. Consent is so important, especially when needing to be had from a child, which is, there are laws that your parent or guardian needs to make so many decisions for you because you're not in the right mental state to be able to answer questions with the full mental capacity that you do need to have to make those decisions. But regardless, this needs to be it needs to be talked about so much more than it is. It's a huge topic that's very blunt and gross to talk about, but it needs to happen for it to get fixed. And that's what I'm doing here. But I think that's it for now. Thanks for listening. Spread awareness.